all the times that we went to download was amazing, because like we had that one where it was like Faith No More's first show in however many years, and yeah, like there's just so much cool stuff going on. And then the year after was the weird one because AC/DC brought their own stage with them.
Yeah, that was fucking cool though.
Wait,
Even if was like, oh, this is our last tour. Not really.
Yeah.
wait. So how did they? So you're saying they put like a mini stage on top of the main stage? How's that?
No,
work?
not a mini stage. There was so there was a main stage, and then
Yeah.
literally next to it there was another stage, and it was the exact same size, but the only band that were allowed to play on it was AC/DC.
Okay,
Yeah.
that seems excessive, but like,
It was
I mean,
so weird. I'll see if I
mean,
can get a picture for you, because it's like it was just the weirdest thing.
Yeah, we got a lot of good pictures of this. They had a lot of inflatables and kind of like pyrotechnics and stuff.
that sounds nice.
Yeah, there you go. I'm gonna put it in the Discord, Simon.
Oh, okay, cool.
So on the left is AC/DC's own stage, and then on the right is the main stage where everyone else played.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I forgot about that. It was literally identical, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They might as well just been the same stage.
It literally was the same stage with like an inflatable on top.
I mean, like, were they allowed to burn it down afterwards? Is the question.
They didn't burn it down, but they set a lot of fireworks off.
It was just
Okay,
so
that's
weird
probably-
as well, because the way they set it up as well, because AC/DC had their own stage, they basically said that the sub-headliner that day was the headliner. So we saw Queens of the Stone Age headline the main stage, and then AC/DC came out on their own stage, and it was just like,
Yeah, as you do.
Oh, it's so weird.
But it was totally worth it. It was like yeah, I can. Even if they weren't the band I loved, there was certainly one that I will never forget seeing.
Yeah, they're the kind of band. Like, to be honest, it's similar to Slipknot for me, because
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Slipknot, but it's just so cool to see that kind of band live.
Yeah, 100%. I think that kind of made me more of a fan as well, because I was kind of like wasn't sure if I was a big fan of them at that point, and I kind of like was like, yeah, I get this band now. But obviously, it never be repeated in terms of like performances and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a good thing to remember and have in the back of my head as like this just iconic thing.
Yeah,
But again, it just like every band that we saw download had has a special place in my heart, just because of one. Even if we had seen them before, they still had an impact. Like when Deftones played, they still had a huge impact when we saw them at download.
Yeah.
And them Crooked Vultures, they really just like, yeah, they just blew me away.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Queens of the Stone Age, was it? It was them
Crooked
Vultures.
Vultures.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool, man. It's a shame them Crooked Vultures only did the one album and then sort of like stopped.
Yeah. I'm hoping that they will do another one before John Paul Jones dies. God forbid that happens, but yeah, they still have time to do one more.
We're lucky though. Like I got to see him 3 times. I think we got to see him twice together.
Right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think at the time I loved them, but I didn't appreciate them until looking back now at how impressive that band was, and how like once in a blue moon that would ever happen as well.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yes,
even just like the simple things, man. Like just like being able to see Dave Grohl drum for our set was really cool.
Yeah. Which is very rare in these days.
Yeah.
It'd be like, so I mean, like in the future, they may have to come back like zombies. Which reminds me, that's Pat. Why did you choose this film?
Actually,
right,
we can't do the sound effect.
Before we start, for some reason my camera on my laptop ain't working.
I mean, your phone one is okay.
Yeah, but it's annoying.
I mean, like, worst comes to worst, you could just turn it off, like, your video call, because, like, I think my Wi-Fi is being janky anyway. That's why I turned off my video.
Okay. I'll do the intro here now anyway. Why did I pick this film? Well, to annoy Alec. No, I'm joking. the horror films that I picked previously, they've all been a little bit different. They've sort of been like a landmark of that specific type of genre, and the zombie subgenre has always been something that I've really liked, whether it be in film, TV, or gaming. And I think that's to go back to the film that really started it in this sort of, I wouldn't say in its purest form, but it's sort of in the style that it's in the modern day. It all comes back to this film. It's I'd personally call it an indie film. It was on a very low budget. You know, I don't really think they were well-known actors or anything like that. So it was kind of like, what was that camcorder film that everyone seemed to love?
Which project?
Yeah, the Bench Project.
So it's sort of kind of like that, but a lot better. Not like camcorder recorded or anything like that, but it's sort of like a man's had an idea of a film. He's obviously not had a lot of money to work with. He's found people that found the project interesting, and then they went and made it. And yeah, it sort of created this whole culture of zombies within the horror community that that I really like. Like, as you guys know, I've been a big fan of The Walking Dead for many years. Shaun of the Dead, my favourite sort of modern zombie films with that element of humour to it, and that all comes back to this. So it's sort of like a tribute to George Romero for the impact he's had on cinema with this little film.
Nice.
Now, my question for you then, if that is the case, what do you prefer, the more old shambly zombies, or do you prefer the Train to Busan zombies nowadays?
I'll be honest, like, it's very different how I think of vampires, because vampires have a specific sort of taste, but zombies, I'm not really too fussed. It's, well, I know Alex said that he didn't find it very interesting, but as long as it's interesting to me, I don't really mind if they're like zombies like this, or like Walking Dead zombies, or Days Gone zombies. It don't really matter to me, as long as I sort of find the whole thing compelling. The thing is with this one, I wouldn't necessarily say, but it's more of like a play on humanity, how humanity would react in this sort of situation, which I think they got pretty nailed. You have some people that are struggling to deal with like losing a loved one, so they end up like in a shell. Some people try to play the hero, boards the building up and try and get ready in case the zombies come in. Some decide to hide in the cellar. Like, they're the kind of things that you'd expect like people to do. Like, trying to think of the word for it, because I sort of had a speech for this in my head, and I've completely lost some of the words for it. So, but yeah, it's more. I think this film is sort of more George Romero's theory as to what humans would be like if we had a zombie invasion. And yeah, I thought it was so cool. Like, I mean, if you've seen any like Dawn of the Dead or Shaun of the Dead or Walking Dead, you see a lot of what's in this. You see a lot in those projects. So that's why this film is so kind of really special to me. I wouldn't say it's my favourite zombie film, but it's the most important one for me.
I can see why you like, well, just from what you said there, I can see why you like the new Alien film so much, because I think that plays on a lot of like zombie stuff. Because like, you know, the whole bit with what's his name, the new replicant, where he's like, oh, you can't apply emotions to this situation. It's not the person who you love, and all that.
Yeah,
that's Alec talking.
Are you saying Alex a replicant? Are you saying he's played by Michael Fassbender?
Maybe we have to blood.
The truth is, it's not minding if it hurts.
Yeah, it's interesting to go back and look at this, because I don't know, like the whole genre has moved on so much now that you kind of like I feel that you kind of have to put yourself in a mindset where like zombies don't exist to really appreciate Night of the Living Dead. So I think once you see it as kind of like a fairly new concept and a new idea, that's where it becomes interesting. Because it's like, because now we've got films like Train to Busan and even things like World War Z. I mean, I didn't really like World War Z, but because they've kind of gone so much further with the idea of zombies, it's easy to look back at Night of the Living Dead and go like, oh, it's, you know, it's a bit kind of like vanilla or whatever. But yeah, I think if you watch it, sort of keep bearing in mind that to George Romero that this was a new idea, I think it makes it so much cooler, because it's like it's literally just, you know, like people who've stumbled into a situation that they'd rather not be in. And yeah, I think like, I'm not saying you have to temper your expectations for it, but I do think it becomes so much cooler when you think of it in terms of like, you know, this is a brand new monster.
Well, I mean, like I was gonna say, zombie genre in itself has got a bit, let's say, saturated with all the media, and like even zombie movie or zombie, the concept of zombies is like kind of like overdone, like even like a few years ago. But like watching this now, I don't know if it's like the first zombie movie ever, but it's probably close to like all your zombie trope stuff is in this movie. And considering how old it is, this is probably where the trope starts. You know, or the gotta shoot them in the head, or you know, or if you shoot nobody, it doesn't do much damage. Oh, and they're very weak to fire. It's like, oh, okay. You see where all of the like, this is like a zombie origin story, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. And watching it now, because I have never actually watched this before, and I'm seeing like all the stuff and how they're done. Is like, oh, okay, that's an interesting way to do it. I do question why radiation from Venus would make people undead. That's like I mean like that's
sci-fi.
Yeah,
yes,
the answer is that George Romero didn't have anything else to work with.
Yeah, but like
women from Venus, men are from Mars. That's the question.
I don't know if that should be. I don't know if it sounded as sexist as you made it sound, Ben. It sounded like wait. What did you mean by that? It sounded like
that's just like a typical trope from the 1950s and 60s, where like everyone said women are from Venus, but men are from Mars.
And they meet.
Okay.
But wait, what?
And they meet on Uranus.
Yes, they do indeed. Because it's plutonic.
Yeah.
Get it?
Okay, but yeah, like, but in any sense, it's like it was quite interesting to see like the beginnings and like the styles of the shuffling like zombie hordes that we eventually see in the more modern films. Obviously, with the budget, right? It was only like the same same like 10-ish people, and it's like, okay, just change it to this costume. Okay, you've got this like raggedish like suit on. That's fine. It suits the zombie. You're undead. It doesn't matter. And afterwards, I'm pretty sure there was like some of them were just like half naked, anyways. And they were like, "Wait, why are you like half naked? They're undead. Doesn't matter." Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like I think there's one or two that's just fully naked, but you can't, because it's in black and white. You can't actually see it. But it's like but it's like, but why are they naked? I mean, you don't put someone in like cremate someone when they're fully clothed. I don't think that's how that works. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But it's like,
Simon, just to double check, is this the first time that you'd seen Night of the Living Dead?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So it's so me watching it. I mean, I think I've seen like, because as a person who goes on the internet, you probably see clips of some stuff. I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, I've seen like the zombie girl eating her dad. Yeah, okay, I've seen that clip before somewhere. I don't know where it's from, but I was like, oh, it's probably, yeah. So this is where it's from. I was like, oh, it makes sense. You're seeing, it's kind of like, it's weird to say that this is full of all your zombie tropes, but these are probably where the tropes began, and that I think is quite a nice thing. Production wise, it's like certain things are a bit or janky because of the time period, but other things are quite nice. Like, I say nice, but it's like quite well made. Like the lady who's the rotting corpse on the second floor, right? That was very well made considering that the time, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's a very well made rotting corpse. So it's like, yeah, it's quite, it was not too bad to see. Story wise, it's we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Yeah, we'll get into that. Who else needs? Everyone else needs to do an opening statement as well.
Just to quickly pick up on something that you said towards the start of that. So technically, like the film that people say is the first zombie film is I Walked with a Zombie. That was like the 40s. I haven't actually seen it, but this is the first zombie film that you would consider to be like the modern zombies that we know, and it's all based on a Haitian legend.
Oh.
Yeah.
One thing I was just thinking about the other day was, should we account for inflation in the budget when we're comparing budgets?
Yeah, we could do, to be fair. Should I quickly check what this would be?
So this would be, you can get the accurate figure, but a few years ago, it would have been around 940,000, I think, or 914,000, something like that.
How much was it in the 60s?
114,000, roughly.
114?
Yeah, 114,000.
And it's 1968, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with inflation, that'd now be 1.7 million.
Oh, man. Oh, I forgot recent inflations.
It's gone mad, yeah. But to be fair, 1.7 million is still fairly cheap.
I feel like it's like over 100,000 more than it would have been a few years ago, though.
Yeah. But yeah, as like a horror film budget, that's still like, I'd still put that as fairly low budget.
Oh yeah, definitely. That it's a similar budget to You Resemble Me.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was just looking at like least expensive films. Apparently, my least expensive
You Before Me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've picked like 3 horror films, and The Birds is the most expensive.
Oh really?
Yeah, because this
that's saying something.
Wait, for like the 60s.
Oh yeah, because your other one was Halloween, wasn't it? That was made for nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but The Birds is still like nothing compared to like obviously Gladiator and Inception.
And that's still just like a trailblazer for slashers.
Oh wow, yeah. To be fair, the Bird's budget for its time was huge. I'm going to check what the inflation on that would be, because that's going to be massive.
Rob, did you pick off Shoplifters? Do you remember?
Say that again, sorry?
Oh yeah, you did pick Shoplifters. No, I answered my own question. Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. Oh wait, have I put too many zeros in there? 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, I've put too many zeros. Right, I'll take one out. So the Birds, if it was made today, adjusting for inflation, the budget would have been 60 million.
Okay.
Not too bad, I guess.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah, for a
about what
horror
you'd
film,
expect, I think. Like, when
It's-
you consider it's Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, it's more than your usual indie movie, but less than your blockbuster. So
Mhm.
it's in between that.
It's
Yeah,
the,
I reckon if he was making films today, that's probably what he'd be working with.
Yeah.
the same Fly.
Hmm?
Same as The Fly and The Matrix.
Well,
Oh,
I think there was that
interesting.
much.
That's how much they were. The Matrix was that low. Because I'd expect
Yeah.
Matrix to be like 100 plus.
Yeah, they saved a lot of money.
See, that's when they knew how to make films without like bleeding the budget dry. Because that's the trouble with nowadays. They spend so much, and the films aren't profitable because they spend there's too much money to make them. That's the problem. But back in the day, then like, oh, you can only make a film for like less than 60 million, and you'd always usually get your money back double, and you'd always get profit because they were budgeted accordingly. So it's a shame.
Yeah, a good example of what you said basically is The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I think in today's money, it would be around about the same as The Birds.
Really, but and it doesn't look it.
And that's what happens when a director like Robert Rodriguez just wants to mess around for his kids.
Yeah, it's like there's messing around, and then there's just like, why did you do this? I mean, I had fun. I mean, I would have been fine if it wasn't made, but my opening statement. So I didn't have any problem. Oh yeah, I should probably come on video for at least a little bit. I didn't necessarily have any problem with the zombies, because like someone had said before, I was viewing it through the lens of zombies exist yet. So there were things that made me laugh about the zombies, and I didn't mark anything down for that. It was just funny to kind of see it in the really, really early days of, okay, he's establishing this kind of thing. I also find it strange that it must have been a money thing, but they use chocolate sauce for pretty much everything to represent blood. And find that weird. Sorry. What I found weird was that
Chocolate.
got the people to when they got the zombie actors to eat chunks of ham, they put it in chocolate sauce. It was like, was there no other dark colored sauce that you could have used?
Well, I mean, like budget-wise, chocolate sauce is probably cheaper than like fake blood. You know, like if chocolate sauce is like 20 cents and fake blood is like $1.50, it'll be like, you know.
And not fake blood. I was expecting them to use like something like barbecue sauce, brown sauce, ketchup, like very common stuff. Chocolate is still, it's a luxury. Back
Well,
then, it would have been cheaper to get some just table sauce.
well, I get what you're saying, but
Oh, you
I
mean
can't
Heinz?
agree.
Or we're talking about Coleman's?
No, he's talking like, you know, he's talking about HP brown sauce, but there's a problem with that. Think of it like this: because because it was filmed during the day, because like obviously like it's still quite bright when you first see like the first half of the movie. Imagine being covered with barbecue sauce for about a day of filming in the sun, and just that smell would have been quite bad. So it's probably like chocolate sauce wouldn't have been as bad as barbecue sauce, is my opinion. It's like,
Sorry, let me finish what I'm saying, then it'll make more sense.
okay,
Chocolate sauce makes sense for everything except the ham that they were eating. The reason I say this is because, like, the people working on set were like, it felt almost pointless doing some of the makeup because they ate the chocolate with the ham. Everyone who ate that got really nauseated and looked really sick and pale.
Well,
And it
that
was just
kind of works with
Yeah,
film's favour,
that's-
to be fair.
yeah, movie
Doesn't it?
magic. That's just it's just
Yeah.
like the way of cinema.
So all the zombies look like they were half dead because they were kind of like, oh, we've got like a salmonella. Oops. Oh, just keep filming, George Moran.
Like it would have made sense to have some sauce on the ham. Like you can put chocolate for everything else, but
The
you know,
applesauce. Mm.
like, I mean, that wouldn't have shown up, but but
Yeah,
it's
why is it
like,
all like shiny? Oh, that's just applesauce.
but yeah, that was like, but I get Simon, but sorry, carry on because I cut you off.
No, I was just, I mean, like, I get, I mean, I didn't know about the ham stuff, but I was like saying, because I was watching this film and with like the little girl in the basement with the garden shop, what was it that she stabbed the mum with? Like little, like, I don't know what the name of that, yeah, but it's like watching it and like this, because like I was waiting for it because I was listening very carefully. I was waiting for the. And I was like, yeah, it's the exact same melon sound that they have for like Psycho, right? And it's just like, yeah, it's the exact same sort of like squishy sound with the same sort of like stabby motion. I was like, yeah, I see where he got like the style from. Yeah, very classic. And I was like, oh yeah, then that's probably what made me think, oh, this blood is probably chocolate sauce. Yeah, it's like getting covered with chocolate sauces. Yeah, it's the same sort of like it was the trope of the movies of the time. It's probably what everyone did. Probably, to be honest, they kind of saved money by going, "Hey, Mr. Hitchcock, did you use all your chocolate sauce? Can I just borrow some chocolate sauce from you?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And he'll be like, "Yeah." So that's probably how it is.
That must have been the worst thing when they moved to like filming in color. Just like loads of special effects people going, "Oh man, but we've just ordered a truckload of chocolate sauce. we can't use this in color."
Who was
Yeah, it wouldn't work, would it? I said, oh, we don't have any like cherry sauce, but chocolate sauce, fine.
There was a thing like there was a wrestler called Gangrel in the 90s, and he used to do, so his gimmick was that he was a vampire, and he used to do this thing where he'd bring like a goblet to the ring with him, and he'd like take a sip from it and then just like spray it everywhere. And apparently the way that they got the sort of the liquid in it to look like blood was they would mix instant coffee with Ribena.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm. You're not coming through for some reason, Emmanuel.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
That is strange. That's a deep red, but okay. I want to spit it out. Carry on. Yeah, so I didn't have any problems with the zombie kind of stuff. The main problems I had, understand afterwards why it was so bad, was some of the acting by certain people, and the script. Oh my goodness, the writing in places, I was just like, what is going on? This is so, I'm so confused. Like, this don't make no sense. Some of this stuff, and like they're contradicting each other. And then, like, I can excuse the kind of like weird cut because of budget reasons. The way, the way one moment it's like, and then it just cut suddenly completely different. Like Tom coming in for stuff like that. Oh, Pax. Like that, excuse that. But this script, man, you had no excuse. And it's not like the levels of kind of like, oh, it's just going for B movie vibe. It was just, it made no sense sometimes. Like when, okay, let me go back a bit. So in terms of actors, a lot of the main cast, except Ben, who's one of the few kind of like hired main cast, he was just the kind of best one who auditioned, because as you probably know, there was lots of political discourse around it, and he didn't do any of that on purpose. He was just like, in that's cool in a way as well, because it kind of shows that while not surprising coming from someone who was creative, it also showed that he didn't care the color of whoever it was. He was just like, I just want someone who can do the best job, um, which makes sense. And also so if I go to the other actors, so Cooper is the producer. Obviously, the wife is his wife. The daughter is his daughter. The Tom was related to him in some way. Judy, the worst actor in the film, was the receptionist.
The receptionist.
Yes,
Oh,
like
wow.
for his building. And because he was like one of the head of the kind of company, can't remember, hardware something, associates or something. And think, yeah, that I can't remember if if Barbara was related to the company in a way. I think she was, but I can't remember. Anyway, what I did like about Barbara as a person is that, unlike a lot of, I guess, views at the time, which were unfortunate, like labeling her as the screaming woman, whatnot, and of course, you know how psychology, especially, was at the time, and labeling women hysterical and all sorts of things. And the way she saw it was more through a lens like we would see it in modern times, of basically she was in trauma and shock, and she had to go inside her mind to kind of like protect herself.
Mm.
And unfortunately, by the time she was able to come out of that kind of shock state, protective state, she got killed because she's trying to help the wrong way. She's trying to help. um, but yeah, that I think, yeah, that's mostly my thoughts. Oh yeah, that was it. So Ben's story, there were other parts that made no sense at different points. No, there were a lot of things that didn't make sense in terms of their actions. But we could talk about that afterwards. Ben's story, when he was talking about when he first, like how he got there in the first place. So there's just so many things that don't add up. I was just like, okay, so you were at this diner for whatever reason. He's at the diner. Hasn't said why he was there, but a diner's a diner. It's cool. Don't know how he got to the diner. Usually you do drive to a place like that, but let's just leave it. Maybe he lives nearby. Whatever. He hears the radio playing. He just gets inside someone else's truck. This is before any of the zombies appeared up there. He just jumps inside someone's truck to listen to the radio. Wait, why didn't you just go to the window? Why are you getting inside the truck to listen to the radio? That's not your vehicle. Like, what's going on? And then obviously after he's seeing this truck go by, swerving, is like ghouls, as they call them, just chasing them. And then his story gets a bit weird, because one minute he's driving and had to kind of brake to stop from hitting him, but the other minute he wasn't driving at all. And then he talks about how the zombies were surrounding him, and then he and I don't know if it was just cut from different takes, weird, and maybe it was, to be honest, with the budget. But one minute he's like, they were just standing there doing nothing, and then his story gets inconsistent, and then he's just like, he sounds like he just wanted to escape, but then he's like, I wanted to crush them. And I'm just like, wait, what? What's going on? And then it's just like, okay, ignoring all of that, like suspending disbelief. Let's suspend it. You were driving in a car, a truck rather. That's working. Fair. I get why you took it, because the diner's surrounded by ghouls. You're just out of there. You're gone. Okay, cool. Why the heck do you pull, like, I know that maybe someone can clarify this, but in my head, the house that Barbara was in seemed like the caretaker's house. That's what I assumed it was, because they were in the cemetery. She didn't run far, so I assumed it was like the caretaker's house or someone who lived there. But I thought it was the caretaker. So I was thinking, okay, this guy's in a vehicle, but he gives no reason why he drives into a cemetery to get to find some random place in the dark when he was on the road where there's less visibility in some kind of wooded kind of area, and stumbles upon this house. I'm just like, why did you make these decisions? But and sorry, I'll stop after this because I know there's many more I could say. When we found out Cooper was down in the basement, I was kind of confused because, and maybe you could again do some disbelief. There was no zombies around the house when Barbara got there. There was just the one that was chasing her. But for some reason, they found it scary enough to go down into the basement with no food, no water, and there seemed like there was no zombies around the house when they got there. So I was just like, I know the zombies could move off, but from what we saw, the zombies would know they were inside and would hang around so to get a bite. There were no zombies there. So why did they go down in the basement when all the stuff was upstairs? Like, but then there was a dead body upstairs. So I don't. Anyway,
Yeah, that's why Cooper was a stupid character. That's for sure.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm not surprised by any of your issues. Yeah, it's a funny one, man. Like, is it's yeah, I don't know. Like, I think what you were saying about I can't remember the actress's name now, and the whole thing about how at the time it was quite easy for people. Well, it was quite common for women to be labelled as hysterical and that kind of thing. That's really interesting because of the kind of like the advancement in technology between the two films, you forget how close this was to The Exorcist, because it was only 5 years before, and that was a big thing with The Exorcist, is like, because it's about a single mum and her daughter. There's this whole kind of like there's a lot of subtleties weaved into it about like her coming across to people as hysterical, which nobody ever says, but because that's how people were at the time, that's how it's taken. And it's quite easy to miss that now. So yeah, it's quite. I hadn't really considered it with this, but yeah, you kind of made me realise how close together the two films are.
Yeah, I didn't think about that because I didn't. Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is this one didn't make me laugh so much.
You need therapy, Pat.
I probably do, to be fair. I mean, my mum has said it for years. Said there's something not right of me, and I think Film Club is making me realise that.
I'm just
Oh, this made me.
here chatting to you guys, having a beer, playing with me cards.
Are you sorting them out now?
Yeah, I've got me me new sleeves.
Are they the blood red ones?
Yeah.
I think the ones I got were ruby, so we should have
Yes.
different sleeves still.
So the blood red ones I'm using for my Lord of the Rings ones.
Nice.
That's nice. I want to try the Assassin's Creed stick, and I'm gonna start buying and trying that out soon. But
The
like
only
in
thing
any
with
case,
the only thing with the Assassin's Creed cards quickly is that they're not a full set. Just so that you know.
oh yeah, no. I'm blending it with like I'm making them all like outlaws, and they're just mixing it up with the Thunder Junction ones, so it works
nice.
very well.
Yeah, nice.
But anyways, for this movie, I was just saying, like, I feel like because I don't know about I don't know about you guys, right? But I felt like there was a slight like I would like to say a racial prejudice against it, because the lady who was with her brother first was that Barbara, or was that was Barbara, right? The first girl that we saw when they were driving into like
Barbara's the first lady.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're
When
coming
she-
to get you, Barbara.
Oh yeah. When we went into the house the first time, and she was like walking around with the knife and stuff, and she was like, oh, she's all hysterical, and as the menu says, she was like, purposely made to be look hysterical and stuff. It was weird when she went out and the lights were on. Then she saw. I don't know how to describe it. It seems like, I don't know if it was a thing. It's like she saw a man, but more precisely because he was a black man, it looks like she had a like aversion to him. I don't know if it was just me, or it's like the way that she stepped back, it looks like it was done. I don't know if it was done in the sense that it was supposed to be seemingly like aversion because he was a person of color, or it was just like because he was just a mysterious man. But it just seemed a bit awkward, if you know what I mean.
I think
Like
it was. 'Cause I know that it wasn't on purpose, but I think it was more because the combination of things. She's in a state. She's in her right. Then she's got some person who she at the end of the day, she was blinded by lights, not quite sure, like, is this a person or a ghoul, whatever. And then the person has a tire iron, and, then it's just like forcing her to get back into the house, and she's in a state where she can't really make sense of anything. I wasn't surprised, to be frankly honest. Out of all the cast, it would make sense for her to act like that.
that explains to me, because well, it's mainly because again, it is a film of the time period, so there's like certain like let's say let's say there's certain like racial prejudices during that time period, and there's that's like because like I mean, like, it's a question also, who would you say is the quote unquote main character, right? It's not, it isn't anyone else, it's just him, right? He's, well,
Ben.
oh, actually,
Yeah, I'm the main
like,
character.
Yeah, because Ben is the main character. I mean, he does get introduced at the beginning, but like he is the main character, or he's the guy who is like essentially leading the charge for everything until obviously Mr. Cooper comes and like becomes like the other sort of like, well, I would like to say antagonist, but that's not quite right, is it? He's like just like he's like the other sort of like opposing force that sort of like butts head with.
He's the
with
Alec
Ben.
of the film.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Alec would be very willingly set up to throw Molotov cocktails, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like this. There were certain things about this film that were just like, oh, maybe it's because of the time period, and because of that, as I was like, maybe I just like, let's say, just give it a quick blur, because like seeing it then, it was like, okay, we'll give it a pass because of it. But it's like, I mean, like, because maybe it's because Barbara is just in a state of hysterics, and she was holding the knife on the fucking blade end. She did it multiple times. Every time I saw that, I was like, why are you not? Don't hold it by that end. That's the sharp end. Hold it by the other end, please. It's just like something. Maybe it's just like a prop thing. And I was just like, she kept holding it on the knife end. Like I saw her do it twice. Like when she put it back on the fridge. I was like, why would you? You could cut open your hands, and that's how you get infected, right? And it's just like, it's just, yeah, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
You go.
I was going to say that I think even if the film is really dated and a lot of like the dialogue and the acting kind of doesn't hold up by today's standard, I do really appreciate like the subtext, and like obviously a film like this could only be made at the time it was made, because I feel like casting the actor who played Ben was really there's a really important decision there, using a black guy like him, who's so he's just like a really awesome guy. He just like he's the one that has the most sense. He thinks about things the most logically. He does things the most like he thinks things through and stuff. And the way the film ends is the most bittersweet thing about it. I mean, bittersweet probably isn't a good word to describe it, because it is so tragic. The fact that they just kill him outright, and I feel like I have to bring it up. It's just kind of like the time it was made. It's kind of a reflection of the bigotry and the bias and what America was going through at that era. I was like, oh yeah, then they didn't think twice. Oh yeah, you're a man of color, so we're not even going to think, oh, he's a zombie. No, who cares? Just shoot him. And I feel that it had something to say in that time, and it is by now. And when we look at it through today's lens, it's just like, yeah, there are people out there that are just going to be like, yeah, they're going to just like split-second decision about how someone looks because of what is happening in the world. And it has a lot of like impact and a lot of huge ramifications from today. And I think, if anything, the film was trying to do, it's worth it for that, because of what it was trying to convey and the little subtle kind of nuance that it has about race and just bigotry and yeah, and just like classism and stuff like that. I thought it was really quite clever in that regard.
Yeah,
Or by putting it in this great new visionary kind of like zombie kind of like thing that we'd never ever seen before. Even if it has like a lot of teething problems and it's trying to kind of like get to terms of what it was trying to do. George A. Romero was trying to do something that had never been done. He was still trying to iron out the creases, you might say. And this was kind of like the stepping stones of what the genre could become. So it's worth it for that, even if it has flaws, I feel.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on that, man, because that was something that me and Rachel were talking about. Because when she was watching it, she was like, "Oh, I assume he dies because like that's what always happens in horror films," and I was like, "Well, it's like I'm not saying he doesn't die." But it was before the trope existed, and it's a bit more meaningful than it usually is.
Yeah,
like it's, like, I do feel like it's trying to convey a point in this. like it's
yeah. Before that, it was just like, this is the first time it's ever happened in the way it has, and after that, it became a trope. And like Pat said, it was kind of, or whoever said, it was like these are all the stepping stones and kind of like the blueprints of all the tropes that we know from horror, zombie horror, and just horror in general. Because of there's like the token guy that dies first, the black guy that dies first, and there's the woman that survives at the end. And it doesn't have that, but it kind of like laid the blueprints on like how things would go for the characters in horror films like this. It's really quite fascinating to see, especially if we see all the films that came after and analyze it after. Like Halloween, obviously, probably inadvertently had a lot of homage to this. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Say. Oh no, go on, man. I'll go.
No, you go. You go.
I was gonna say, like, because these were the stepping stones with all the tropes there, and like seeing how they feel now, I feel like it's affected. I mean, like, I was gonna say, because like I feel like my score for Impact is probably lower than it should. I probably like have to knock it up like at least half a point, because it's just like seeing. It was because you said it, Ben. It made me think. All right, there was a trope that I really did love as like in video games as for zombie films, especially for like Resident Evil. It's where it's like he's very close to the wall, and afterwards a bunch of zombie hands grab him, and it's like seeing that, and it's like I knew that was gonna happen, but just seeing it happen, like for the because it happened for essentially the first time ever, and just seeing it happen like that, and it's like it's something. It's a certain level of like special to it. I don't know how to explain it because yeah, you just don't usually see it, and it's just like wow, that's the first time that happened, and because it's the first time that happened, it's just like it makes it like it has its own makes it have its own uniqueness. Is the first way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I was tired.
Simon thought he was on his own for a sec.
Yeah. I was muted for the. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's good.
Shit,
Yeah.
no one's reacting.
Yeah, it started out it's on purpose. I was also looking at some of the kind of trivia around the film. I mean, I was looking at that before as well, but there's a lot of interesting stuff in terms of like even the house, for example. The house was planned to be demolished, so they kind of let them do whatever they want with it. And he joked around saying Romero like, "Oh, we could demolish it for you." So they tidied it up so they could make it seem livable, and then they, yeah, obviously wrecked it. The cellar, the basement, it wasn't actually a proper basement. It was just like they call like some dirt potter's cellar with no staircase. So the basement is actually the basement to the editing studio in Pittsburgh. Interesting.
I mean, I don't know if that just talks to you about like how studios are. It's like, oh yeah, we have a basement. It's all dark and creepy. It'll be perfect for this horror film. It's just like, oh yeah, it's like, great. That's where I work. The creepy basement.
Going back to what y'all talked about before, and how would you sum up what you just said, Simon? Like before that spaced out.
Wait, what do you mean?
What you had just said. I said you go first. Like, how would you sum?
I mean, like,
can you sum?
Oh man, I need to sum it up. Let me just like quickly write down what I was for thesis. Christ, you put me on the spot here. I was gonna sum it up. It's like this film has a lot of stuff that, because I haven't watched it before, it has a lot of the stuff that really does the progenitor of all the stuff that. I mean, I still do like some zombie stuff. It has got a bit boring on certain things, but apart from that, it's like it still holds up surprisingly well, considering that this is like 1960 something, and it's like, oh yeah, even though it's like nearly 60 years old, it's like, yeah, it's still quite good.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I get you. That makes sense. To add on to what Ben and Rob was saying before, I think one of the few times I was thinking, or yeah, one of the times I was thinking, is there some kind of racial thing going on here because of the time? Was when so Ben, his character carries a lot of anger. Like he's got anger issues. But I was thinking, does he have anger issues because of how bad the racism is? Because he punches the barber. There was no need to do that. Like this lady obviously is having a hard time. Why are you punching her? And then he asked Cooper obviously to let him in and all that kind of stuff. He gets in, and then he starts beating the crap out of him. And I'm like, okay, dude, like this guy, as being as much as he is like the antithesis of self first and no one else, you already know that this guy has a wife and kids, is very concerned for their safety. If he opens that door and then they end up dying because he opened the door, how do you think he would feel? Why would he not hesitate? And while you have every right to be pissed that you almost died because you didn't open the door to let you in, this ain't like your friend or something. This is just some random guy you met. Why are you? He doesn't deserve to be beaten up. And it's just like a lot of his reactions feel like from a bystander over the top, unless you then look at maybe he he received a lot of mistreatment.
Mm.
And that could explain why he acted the way he did towards them. Like that it's just like, even though I know the director didn't intend that, in the context of the time, I'm like, well, what else am I going to think if there's no other logical explanation for the stuff he's doing that doesn't seem to make sense, like some of the things.
I the only sense I can make of that is there was quite a bit of friction between the two well before then, and then obviously Ben's stuck on the outside, and I think subconsciously he's probably really scared, and he knows that he's on the other side of the door, not opening the door, but then he gets in, gets the door closed, and then as he's relaxed, he's like, "You bastard!"
Mhm.
I think it's probably down to the fact that they were so hostile to each other earlier, and I think his natural reaction was to punch him in the face.
But that, if he stopped at a punch, that would have made sense. He was just
Yeah,
talking on the guy. Like, wait, dude, why are you going this? Like, he didn't push you out there.
see, that reminds me of the scene in Shaun of the Dead between Shaun and the character that Dylan Moran plays. But obviously they went around it a bit differently because Dylan Moran said something and Shaun punches him in the face. That obviously doesn't beat the crap out of him. But that was one of the scenes that was like, I see where you got the inspiration for that. But there's like there were so many different scenes, like when the girl takes down all the protective stuff off the window to get out. That also reminds me of near the end of Shaun of the Dead, where Dylan Moran's girlfriend or friend, I can't remember, takes down all the stuff from the pub window, and all the zombies come in. I think that's part of my excitement watching this is because I've seen it elsewhere and seeing like seeing where the original idea come from. That was what I was trying to say. This film, like the story isn't necessarily great, but it's high concept.
Yeah.
Which I think, like especially for that time, I think it.
Yeah.
I think it having a higher concept that's led to what it's led to. I think probably matters more than the story itself. The story is fine. Like there's big gaping holes in it. I wouldn't necessarily say a 2 out of 10 sort of story. Like I wouldn't blame anyone for saying, story's okay. It's like a 5. But I think for like the higher concept nature of it, I think it deserves a little bit more credit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like the acting weren't very good. But I think because I enjoyed it so much, I pushed the acting up as well.
Well, I think acting's like. I mean, I wouldn't say that I found like the acting
inconsistent.
believable, but
Nah,
I do.
not
I
at all.
do think it's kind of a. I don't know. I think some of it that registers as bad acting is a stylistic choice.
Yeah, I think the guy who's Ben and Cooper, they were great, but some of the others.
The girl.
Yeah,
The
Barbara.
girl. What made me laugh?
Barbara.
I'm coming to get you, Barbara. That was another scene from Shaun of the Dead that made me laugh as well. But it was then from then on, after her brother got chased off, killed, whatever. Just her acting, it was almost like they gave her something to scream, and then she just sat there on the couch, all out of energy, like she needed a Red Bull or something. She just completely screamed out.
The only 2 times I had problem with acting, because I actually, for the majority of the time, actually was fine with most of the other people's acting in the context, especially finding out afterwards that only maybe one of them was actually an actor.
Yeah.
But like Tom did well. To be frank, I was like, he should be an actor if he's not doing that on the side back then. Like he was doing good. Just for some random relative. But anyway, Judy. Oh my goodness. I was literally thrown out of the film. It's already kind of a strange kind of film in a way. I was thrown out completely and unimmersed when she was just like, I'm just like this. I will talk in the same tone. I will deliver everything like this. I was like, this is not how you talk. Why are you doing this? Like everyone else sounds closer to what they actually probably sound like, or a little bit believable. You just sounded like, I'm reading my lines and I will say it like, I was just like, you know what? I'm glad you have very few lines. Like this was not good. And then another part, and this is not the acting, but the direction, is when Cooper's wife. There's 2 things that she's directed to do with make very little sense to me. So one, she barely reacts to her husband getting shot in what looks like being killed. As far as we know, obviously we know he's not killed by the shot, but it looks like he just got killed. She barely reacts to it, and then she also doesn't run away or try to run away from the zombies like clawing at her from the door. It felt really unnatural. Like after a while, cause she stayed there the whole time, and I was like, "Are you gonna run? Like she's She wasn't doing what Judy did. She wasn't trying to help in the kind of pushing kind of way. She's just like back up against it. Oh, I'm getting by zombies. Then run. And also, the point. This is the. I know there's lots of hosts. Sorry, two more things that made me laugh. Tom made a great point about staying upstairs so that they could run out the back if needed. No one ever ran out the back. Even when they were crashing through the door, no one ran out the back. They just stayed in the living room. I was just like, you know what? It's just what it is. But I think one of the dumbest things. So Tom is obviously trying to unlock the pump, the gas pump. And then the first thing I was just like, wait, what are you doing, Ben? Where do you he obviously he shoots at the gas pump. I mean, it's a miracle that thing apparently didn't explode. Already. Maybe he's going to take the butt of the gun, you know, and bash it. Like that would make it. No, you shoot at something that's flammable, and it's not like he doesn't understand things are flammable because after putting the torch down and the thing's unlocked, Tom, for whatever reason, holds the trigger, then pulls out the gas thing. It just goes whee, and trying to get the car and trying to fill it up. And Ben's just like, no, what? The torch, the flame, the torch. The car's on fire. They're obviously trying to put it out. And this is obviously a comedy of errors at this point. And I'm just like, what the crap's going on? And then Tom, the fire's not put out. And he gets in the truck. He just starts driving off. And Ben's just like, what are you doing? You need to get out. And Tom's like, oh, it's on fire. I'll keep driving. It's like, okay, so the couple unfortunately die from their own stupidity, not from zombies. Literally, they killed themselves. Sorry, this film had me really laughing because I'm just like, this, you were idiots. Oh man. Sorry.
I mean, like, I think that's also the trope of there are stupid people in zombie movies. So I think that's also how it starts off with, like, you're just like seeing how some of these people act. You know, it actually reminds me of an internet joke people have. Like, you know, you have like, it's usually for girls and guys. It's to think about how your girl would have dreams about you cheating on her with another woman in her dreams, and she gets angry with you. For seeing this movie, I just go, man, if I had a girlfriend and she acted like the girls did in the zombie apocalypse, I'll be pissed off at her as well. So it's just like, you know, it's just like it's a unfortunate trope that people have in these films. And I guess her getting her coat stuck in the fucking door before, you know, Tom goes, get out, come on now, get out. No, I can't. My coat is stuck. You know, instead of like, you know, trying to open the door, he tries to rip the coat, and then that's when it explodes. And it's like, man, these people are dumb. And it's just like, well, fuck, you know. It's like, I mean, you already knew the sort of like the type of characters that they were, especially just with heck how lucky Barbara was, just because, you know, they parked up a hill, and that the fact that she was able to get in the car, undo the handbrake, and slowly drive down the hill away from the zombie. She could have took off her heels and ran faster, to be honest, as she slowly fucking like crashes into the fucking tree with her car. I was just like, Thank God you're on the hill, right? I just wouldn't have moved at all. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like, yeah. So yeah, some things in this film don't make sense, but baby steps. We'll see how it goes. Baby steps.
One thing that I found interesting, it's not like dumb or anything, but Ben, when Cooper came up the stairs for the first time, Ben accused him of like, you ain't helping people, blah 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 blah. You heard us, people screaming, and you wouldn't help someone else, who needs help. It is something kind of line like that, like someone needed help. You wouldn't help someone who's asking for help or who needs help. And I was just like, dude, are you really wanting to talk? One, the guy thought there was lots of zombies up there. When Barbara asked you to help her look for her brother, did you not straight up just be like, no? It didn't even give hint or consideration or thought. And you're criticizing someone else for the same thing. And he's got a wife and kid. Like, I was just like, dude, you should just stop talking. Like, you've got no leg to stand on. It's like literally the scene after you just said, I ain't helping you. Sit down. Punch. Shut up. And then he's just like, you couldn't help us. It's like, you just punched out some lady who asked you for help. Oh, man. Sorry.
No, you're 100% correct. It's just the way that you just said punch. It's just like me cracked up. Sorry. Yeah, it was that was a very heavy punch. It was a bit unneeded. It was a bit over the top. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I was half expecting him at some point to be like, if you want to go help your brother, go. I ain't stopping you. Go help him yourself. Like, I ain't going out there. But instead, he just punches her. I'm just like, I don't know this. I don't know what's going on. Oh man. One thing I did, I found it fine. I was explaining it to Camilla because she was just like shaking her head a lot through the whole film. The one part that I thought could make sense was when they were doing the filming of the kind of sheriff lot and all that stuff, and it was like in the daytime. And I was just like, well, if they recorded it earlier in the day, it might have taken that long for them to get back, process the film, and broadcast it, especially since even the radio stations were having technical issues with trying to get broadcast out because of the ghouls and stuff. So I would have liked to kind of see any kind of passage of time for when Barbara entered the house to it being dark, to it being pitch black. Because she literally entered into the house. And it feels like she was in there for 5 minutes. She was just, and then it was suddenly night. I was like, huh? That did me.
And like it was, I guess the best way to say is like it was done in the sense of like there was the what's the word I'm looking for? It was the passage of time via the radio and the TV stations obviously because it was delayed. That's the only reason. But like, do you mean like? I think
No.
like,
The whole rest of the movie was fine in terms of passage of time. Like, because even like near the end, it kind of suggested passage of time with Ben like trying to struggle not to fall asleep and it being quiet upstairs and barely being in his arms or anything. It's more that I thought it would have been nice if it kind of suggested that Barbara was just kind of stuck in the house, kind of like in shock, rocking away or whatever to herself for a while, for quite a while, for it to get that dark. Because it literally just it didn't seem like there were any kind of jump cuts. It just felt like, oh, she went in, she found a knife, came back around, and suddenly it's pitch black. It was like it was, and maybe I missed something, but it was
right. No,
you,
oh right. I think I know what the explanation was. It was a whole goddamn conversation at the beginning of the film. They were arguing about daylight savings and how it was like it's nearly 8 o'clock and it's about to go and it's nearly like and it's still quite bright out. So maybe because like it could have. I mean, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock is when the sun goes down really quickly. So like, if it's daylight savings, it's like it happened in real time. That's where it was during that 1 hour when they were going around in the film. It became nighttime. It makes sense in that sense.
Yeah, I think Camilla said something similar, but yeah, fair. Plus this, yeah, but yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been complaining. I've been so many things. Other people can talk. Or
Manuel has been the Alec of this call.
I mean, like, just to be fair, like I get where like Emmanuel and where Alec comes from sometimes for this film. Plot wise, there is still quite a lot of like tropes and stuff to be desired, right? It's like when they turn on the radio and TV, it just so happened to be like, hey, guess what? This is exactly what's the information that you need to know at this point of time. And the TV also, it does the classical thing of like the TV suddenly turns off when the characters are talking. But when it goes back to the TV, they're talking again, and it's exact perfect cuts. And it's like again, that's a TV trope. It's like I don't blame them too much for that, but it's like it's all those sort of things that do happen, and I think will continue.
That was fine to me.
Oh
yeah,
yes.
also, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just to say that's because it's like the way that the trope works. It's like it works fine enough because we've probably seen it enough in like The Simpsons or something, and it's just like just everyone does it. It's fine.
Yeah, a lot of films kind of are guilty of that, and it's kind of it's just a shame that they don't pay more attention to it. But it's kind of the thing I accept as a Hollywood trope. But I did like the fact it wasn't like you kind of knew what was basically. I felt what was cool about the film was that you experienced like the zombie experience as the characters experienced it. It wasn't like you knew who they were straight away. You kind of had to be spoon-fed about, this is what we know at this point. And then we know a little bit more as the film goes on. And then the next scene, you finally got a bit more sense of what they came from and what they were. And then you find out they came from Venus. And it's like, oh, crap. So it's a bit like as a stage of like percussions, and it was a very realistic way of doing it. It was like everything you found out was in real time, and you kind of knew what they were and how to deal with them as humanity learned how to deal with them. So that I appreciated.
Yeah, that was nice. One thing I also add to that, to counter something Alex said, because I was waiting the whole film for it and it never came. I was never bored.
Well,
film. There was always something going on.
That's a contentious point. That because I asked him earlier, did you even watch the film? Because like there was things that he was saying that made no sense. Like he said that the film was mostly this bloke talking to himself and the other woman having a bit of a mare by herself. But that only accounts for what, 15 minutes of the runtime?
Yeah,
Like there's a big chunk of it where you've got all the characters together and like how they're sort of fighting each other, all that infighting before they go out and get fucked by the zombies. And I'm just like, I feel like you've gotten to that scene and it's felt really long for you and you've just given up on it. So like that's why I asked the question earlier. Did he watch it? He didn't reply to it, but like I was like, mate, there's so much more to this film than that specific thing, and that specific thing I think is quite engaging because like you've got two different characters with different sort of mindsets at the time for different reasons, and that's sort of how they, I suppose, how they advance their stories from there.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. And even if there's things that don't make sense or are making me laugh throughout most of the film, it is like there's always something going on. There's always like, and the thing is, even if there were like quiet moments or moments where not much was happening, I kind of expected that from a low budget film, but it didn't really happen. There was always something going on, or some dialogue, or kind of batting in the hatches. It's like whatever's going on, or there's two characters like or characters discussing who stays upstairs, who goes downstairs, who stays with the kid. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Um, Camilla did Camilla did remind me about how it was at the time and the type of character Cooper is. But there was a moment where it's like, okay, so Cooper wants to stay downstairs. Okay. And he wants someone, to look after his daughter. Why did you not stay downstairs yourself? Why do both of you have to go upstairs for some lady you just met? Because obviously in real life they know each other, but it seems like they've just met. It's gonna look at it downstairs. I'm just like, I'm confused by the whole logic of you're just decision making here. And the irony is that I think someone had pointed out an irony of if he had just stayed downstairs, he wouldn't have been shot. Therefore, he probably wouldn't have been finished off by his daughter. And then it was just something else. Like basically, two people wouldn't have died if they just made completely different decisions than the ones that made absolutely no sense. So it was anyway. Yeah. I, oh yeah, that was it. She reminded me that it's not a man's place at the time to look after a kid. It's only a woman's job. I was just like, I get what you're saying, but and maybe it's just like my modern mind thinking this. In a survival situation, I feel like people like don't stick to stereotypes as much because they've got so they've got priorities of like or they're so stuck on certain ideas. And I felt like quite a few people demonstrated that. But I guess that he I don't know, he cared more about keeping an eye on Ben rather than just staying in the basement like he wanted to with his daughter. I don't know.
I suppose you could also make the opposite argument, though. Like you could say that when you're in that kind of survival situation, then you revert to kind of like how you're programmed into thinking.
True, like people's true colors, that and also, I guess you could also say that he wanted to get some air, and he made sure his wife was, so he's gonna like stay down while she goes up, maybe.
Mm.
Rob, just
Yeah.
quickly, when you get these sleeves, did you ever have any damaged ones in the boxes?
No, not that I've noticed. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, I've just been onto Amazon for the last 10 minutes. They asked me to send a picture of proof
Yeah, that's really bad.
because like 15 of my cards aren't in sleeves because of it.
That
Oh,
many?
Yeah,
Oh, that's awful. Yeah, I've
So-
never had anything like that.
because it's from a
Yeah,
seller,
you-
they give me a refund for it, and I'm just gonna buy them again anyway. So I'll
Yeah,
have
it's
plenty.
probably. I reckon you've probably got one that's already been returned or something.
Well, it had all the plastic seal on it.
Oh,
which
really?
is- yeah,
Weird.
yeah, because like I've still got the seal. Well, it's not sealed now, obviously, but that was what was on it.
What
That's
are you saying
strange.
that? I'm not sure mine have ever come sealed even.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when they're in the shop, they're not sealed. And I think when I've ordered them, they haven't come sealed.
Probably, I think where you're buying it from a card shop, they probably open it to make sure everything is okay.
Yeah, possibly.
But-
Yeah, weird.
I've got most of them in there. I just need a
Hmm.
proper box now.
Yeah, you can get boxes pretty cheap, to be fair, depending
Well,
on what you want.
the ones that you have, they have them on Amazon and on Chaos Cards.
Yeah, Chaos cards are pretty good.
Yeah, so when I come back from Spain and have a bit more money, I'll invest in that.
Yeah, no, Chaos cards are good.
Anyway, back to Zombles. I'm gonna go and get a drink. I'll be back.
Right.
Things. Almost every time someone says chaos, it just makes me think of that box Antichrist.
Chaos reigns.
Yeah, and also and mimicking it, like on the call.
Yeah, if Pat was here, he'd be very upset.
Yes.
Emmanuel, have you ever seen Dawn of the Dead?
No, I've only seen like a trailer of it because I was at one point I was choosing between seeing Dawn of the Dead and Shaun of the Dead. And I saw Shaun of the Dead trailer second. I was like, yeah, I'm watching this. But then for some reason, I only made it through, I think, half the movie. I think when they get to the pub. And then for some reason, I had to stop. But I've never gone back to finish watching it. So I need to watch
Hmm.
it. But what about Dawn of the Dead?
No, I was just wondering because I think I mean I don't know if it's true for you, Ben, but I was thinking maybe some of the stuff in Night of the Living Dead, which might or might not be a sort of like social commentary, maybe because Dawn of the Dead is so like explicit in its social commentary. I'm kind of going like, yeah, that's definitely what George Romero meant then. Like it's
Yeah, probably. It would be good to see them all back to back, you know.
Yeah, because I think you could accuse Dawn of the Dead of being like a bit too obvious. But yeah, all the stuff in Night of the Living Dead that's quite subtle. I'm like, oh yeah, that's really clever. But yeah, I wonder if that's because of like being a fan of Dawn of the Dead. I'm going like, oh yeah, like this is how George Romero thinks.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's probably what his intention was. Maybe.
What's Dawn of the Dead?
What's Dawn of the Dead?
What did they do in Dawn of the
Oh
Dead?
right. I was like, no way you're asking what Dawn of the Dead is.
They made the terrible social commentary about essentially capitalism is the reason why I hate the film. Oh, sorry, but like no, you could no. Actually, no. That's me not being fair, Rob. You go and explain the good side before I start shitting on it.
So I think the social commentary is quite good, but it is a bit too on the nose. Because there's one line in particular in it which it's the only line in the film where I go, you really should have left that out. And it's because all of the zombies have gone to a shopping mall. And then one of the characters goes, they've come here because it's what they love. It's just like,
oh fucking, oh god, just remembering that fucking annoys me. God damn it! It's again, as I said, Rob. That's one of the reasons I don't fucking love that. I really don't like that film. It's just like, it's such a big wink to camera moment, and it's just like I was just like, fucking really? Is that really what you're going for? It's just like yeah.
What films?
I do think Dawn of the Dead, but I do think the commentary is really good. It's just written in a way that's a bit too obvious.
Sure. If you want to say it that way, yeah, sure. Like, it's just it's not.
Two things about or three things about this film are quite interesting. It was almost called Night of Anubis. So that's one thing. But Night of the Living Dead is cooler. I'm glad they went with that. Two.
If they called it.
Huh?
Oh no, I was just thinking if they called it Night of Anubis, they would have to have some sort of Egyptian theming behind it, and I don't think that's what he wanted.
Yeah. It wouldn't really make sense, especially with the kind of Haitian kind of mythology inspiration behind it. So they had changed it to the story at the time, but originally Romero wanted the father to be turned into a zombie rather than the daughter, and then be eating the daughter in the basement. Be found eating the daughter in the basement by the mom. But they were like, actually, nah, I think that's a bit too messed up. Let's have the daughter eat the dad. Okay, cool. I think that they'll handle that better. I don't blame them. That's some solid logic. And there was, I'm trying to think. There was was it? That was it. So John Russo it, appears as the zombie who gets killed by Ben with a tire iron. He also allowed himself to be set on fire for real when nobody else wanted to do the stunt. And he also and Romero also approved of his zombie walk. And Russo was just, yeah, I was probably hungover. Great. I mean, it's not the only time someone was set on fire. There was someone, it might have been Ben. I think he was actually his, and I don't remember it, but apparently there's like some weird cut in the film or continuity error. They had to cut the scene because he's like, ah! And he literally ran, and then I'm not sure if it was Ben or one of the zombies, but then someone needed to tackle him to the ground, help put the flame, so they didn't obviously get burns and stuff. And like every that, I was worrying for people's sake because the amount of things obviously you guys have enlightened about the lack of health and safety in films for a very long time. It's just like this was the 60s and this was low budget. I could only imagine the stuff that went on to cut corners. I hope they're okay. That's my little trivia thingies.
Favorite
yeah.
scenes?
Yeah. You do favorite things. You can go first, Pat.
Oh man. The problem is, some of my favorite scenes have been seen in other films.
I was going to say the problem is your favourite scene's probably from Shaun of the Dead.
See, that's
Fine.
the film. That's probably the film I've watched the most in terms of zombie stuff in most recent years. Well, I say recent, in the last 20 years since it's been out. Like, like the last time I saw this film prior to this viewing now, I must have been like 10. Obviously, shouldn't have been watching it at that age, you know, it being 18 and all. I think it is an 18 anyway.
Huh?
I think this film's an 18.
Oh, it's actually one of the last films released in the US without a rating before the rating came
Oh,
in.
really?
Oh, I'm okay then. 10 is fine. I'll be honest. When he said it's coming to get you, Barbara, I was like, that made me laugh. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's a favourite scene. I'd say like when you've got, I say hordes. There was like a dozen zombies. I think that whole sort of end sequence I really liked. Like when you consider how old the film is and the budget and stuff, I think they really did that well. Like people, like a lot of people that watch films now would look at this film and be like, "Oh, this film looks like shit." But like, I think when you watch films like we do, the film and the scenes sort of hold up really well, like in terms of production. And I think that stuff at the end, I think that really showed up well. Like that was probably what I was worried about going into watching it. It was like some of the scenes I'm not too sure if they're going to look good or like, you know, when you go and watch like 1950s Godzilla and it looks a bit janky. But well, even that one that Dan picked, The Day the Earth Stood Still, I thought looked quite janky as well. But this, it held up surprisingly well. And yeah, like I sort of always loved the zombie action. It's slow, plodding along, and you'd be like, well, full living human should be able to run away from them. But like, I think the element of like the surprise factor where like the human turns around and oh shit they're there, and then the fear factor and stuff. I think George Romero was fantastic on it. Also, Rob, the flashing in your room is added to my speech.
I didn't. Oh, actually, yeah, it's quite obvious now that I look at myself. It's because in the background I've got the well, basically whatever's going on at Reading on. I'm not actually sure it is. That's like, I don't know, a bit scary. This is probably the first time I've seen a headliner at Reading and I've gone, I don't know who that is.
Reading's this late in the year.
Yeah, it's always August bank holiday.
Oh. I suppose I was just used to download being in June.
Yeah, it's usually downloads one of the first and Reading's one of the last. The last always used to be Festival. That was always in September, but they stopped doing it.
Right.
I just found out with the car dent crash scene. Apparently, that wasn't really the intention. I think it was meant to just slow down and then she get out of the car. But during the process, she accidentally dented the car.
Right,
Dent.
okay.
They was meant to return that car to someone. I don't know. I think it was someone's mother's car. And it's like, oops. Okay, let's write this into the script.
Yeah, she was still quite hysteric during that scene. But, yeah, I'm still trying to think of.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, I'm still trying to think of favorite scenes. It's just like, it's like there's certain things in this. Oh yeah, I guess it's just like seeing. It's just generally most of the tropes essentially where it is. It's just like seeing zombie hands out of the wall, and like, I guess like seeing like the, I guess, makeup and design of the like of dead people, I guess is the best way to describe it. It probably is. It's just I guess it's an appreciation of like where it's come from, like the original concept of where these things come from, and like seeing like the styles of them now, and it's just like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's like obviously dated, but appreciate where your like origins come from, and it's just like, yeah, that's fine. It just kind of makes me want to play some more, like, it makes me want to play Resident Evil again. I just like, yeah, we'll do that.
Mhm.
Sorry. I feel like I heard everything you said except which was the favorite scene?
Oh yeah, oh no, forget the scene where Ben has his gun and he's walking like past the kitchen. Then the zombie, he gets too close to like the window, and the zombies like grab him through the window. And he has to start shooting like zombies. Essentially, that's what it is. It's just like, it's one of those things that it's just like, yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's, that's where it comes from.
that makes sense. I think actually I have a favorite and least favorite. Okay. My favorite is probably when Tom just pours gasoline all over the truck, the back of the truck, because I think it made me laugh the most. I was just thinking, nah, you can't be serious. Why are you getting in this and driving off? Anyway, I think that was my favorite. I think my least favorite was how it ended. I wanted at least one person to survive, I think. And that's probably just me being selfish. But even if everyone died, I just thought the way Ben died, uh, that sounds ominous. The way the character died, it was crappy, basically. Like he didn't do any of the, hey, I'm here, don't shoot, I'm coming out, like, got done, do nothing. He just stayed in the window, way back and forth a little bit. When he could see that it was people, he didn't. He just stood there, didn't say anything, and got shot because he was also in shadow. And the ghouls are known for being able to hold things, like we've seen rocks and hold up like things that used to be a torch, the wooden table leg, and bash it at things. So it's just like it was kind of on the level of like how
Yeah, it would have been better if he made more of a point. And I think the film would have made more of a point if he actually was like, yeah, I'm here. I'm like you guys. I'm just like, I'm normal. I'm fine. I've not been bitten, blah, blah, blah. And then they still shot him. That would have had more of an impact because it had been like, yeah, they're just racially biased and they're just piece of shit. And that's the whole point of the film, is that they kind of made their mind up before they even realized he was a normal man. So yeah, it would have been more obvious that way, because at that point, when he's just in the house, he's in shadow with the gun. He's kind of like, you can't really see him. It's like what, 50 feet away, and they're kind of going after him. It's like it's a hell of a distance.
Yeah.
It's not like they're at the doorstep and they're literally like 3 feet away from him. I'd have been like, okay, that's shit, but I get it. But they were so far away, I could understand why they just like, yeah, there's probably a zombie in that room, in that house. Just take him out, just to be sure. If there was a person there, we'd know about it. Blah blah. So, yeah, I get your point.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of reminds me of like kind of dumb deaths, kind of like how anyone knows the death from Game of Thrones of, I think, was it Stark? One who basically ran in a straight line forever just to get.
Oh, it sounds like Prometheus. There's a lot of films that do that. I'm gonna run forward, and they just get killed or squashed.
Yeah, it's just like it took, not to go on about that, because I'm sure I mentioned it sometimes. It went on and on and on. It's just like, yeah, letting him go on. It's like, cool, cool. Are you not going to try and zigzag or something?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I also
Zagzag.
expect, yeah, zigzag. I also half expected, or mostly expected, him to stick his dogs on him, since that was his thing, because that actually would have made for a really good scene and really tense, and also a very gruesome end, which also made sense for the show. But anyway, let's ignore that. One last thing I'd say is, I forgot about this, but I really feel for Ramiro after making this film, because he didn't really know much about kind of, I guess, the kind of distribution and the kind of financial side and kind of profit side of films and whatnot. He got ripped off by all of the distributors and saw almost none of the profits. And it makes me sad because I don't know if this got some record somewhere, but he basically made like 263 times what the budget was, which is freaking amazing. But he saw almost none of that money, none of the profits, because everyone who took the film ripped him off. It's like, it sucks.
I'm just going through his filmography, like as a director. Like, there's probably only like 3 films of his that I enjoyed.
Really?
Yeah, so this, The Crazies, and Dawn of the Dead. He made some other stuff that I thought was a bit, yeah. Like he did actually Resident Evil 2 commercial, which was decent.
Commercial.
Have you ever seen Have you ever seen Creepshow?
No.
Oh, Creepshow's cool. Stephen King's in it, and he's like legitimately the scariest thing in it.
he's the creep. Oh.
He made Land of the Dead in 2005, which was okay.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen enough of his films.
Oh, Dennis Hopper's in it as well. I might have to rewatch this.
Oh, I'll tell you. Firstly, I'll tell you Corey's favorite scene for Night of the Living Dead. She didn't enjoy the film much at all, but
fine.
there was one scene she did like, which was when the zombies each politely took a body part from the truck and left to eat each piece instead of piling on it like animals, basically. So they just took their turns and ate the person in the truck.
Yeah, that was a scene of like, Oh yeah, I guess even zombies like the meat's like heavily barbecued. Just like slowly.
Yeah.
Hey, share a piece.
After you,
that-
Claude.
Yeah, that's kind of like yeah, it's like they kind of wanted things the way they wanted them. They had that hand sort of like hierarchy and personal taste to an extent, like fresco kind of thing. But yeah, that was Corey's favorite bit. Mine probably was I suppose it's the bit where Ben suddenly goes after Hopper or Cooper, whatever his name is, Cooper? Yeah. Cooper, and he's to fight back against him when he's kind of like talking about the basement. And it's like, yeah, the basement's the best place you have to be. It was going full Alec at that point. It's like, yeah, I'm right. This is the way it has to be, and you have to be like, you have to be an idiot to think otherwise. And and Ben's like, no, but there's no escape from there. You're going to be trapped in there. So it's quite a sad kind of like couple, like a full circle at the end of the film, where Ben gets trapped in the basement because he's got no other choice left in him and he's stuck in there. So it is a fascinating scene for the first part and the ending, where he's literally against it and then he ends up being there because he has no choice. So it is a fascinating full circle there. And it's kind of like, yeah, he was doomed either way. No matter what they did, they were gonna die. So yeah, it had a lot of interesting parallels and callbacks. So yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, like Corey and Rachel, I'd say didn't enjoy it, but did Rachel enjoy it or did she just appreciate it?
So she, well, there's a bit of context to it, to be fair. So she's like, well, to give you an example of how bad she is with like horror, and not even just horror, but just like how vivid her imagination can be with films. She refuses to watch Space Jam because it gives her nightmares. So,
How's that give her
Wait,
nightmares?
really? It's
Yeah.
because of the cartoon real life thing mix, like real people and cartoons.
yeah, just like her imagination's too vivid for it. Like even Shrek
Damn.
makes her feel uneasy.
Oh,
Damn. So like
Jesus.
CGI films in general, like
Don't tell her to not watch a match of Wayne Rooney in it then.
Like anything that's like basically anything that has kind of like an element of fantasy or something, like her mind just sort of runs away with it and it sort of troubles her at night.
fair enough.
But this was
She was-
too much.
No, she was like, oh, I'm going to make an effort with this, even though it's like a horror film and she'd usually like dodge them. She was like, oh, I'm going to make an effort with it. And I think she was surprised by how much like she got out of it. Because I think she was picking up on kind of like the social stuff that was going on in it, and that's the kind of thing that she really enjoys. And yeah, like I wouldn't say she's come out of it as a fan of like horror films, or she's come out of it with because that is the other thing actually. The only other horror film that I've known her to watch is Train to Busan, so that's like another sort of like the kind of the point of it is what it's saying about the world. Like the point isn't the monster kind of thing. So yeah, I think she appreciates that element of it. I don't think she's come out of it like wanting to see more George Romero films. But yeah, I think it surprised her how much she got out of it.
That's the thing I've always thought about zombie stuff is there's a very much a social commentary on all of it, really.
But to be honest, that's what I love about horror in general. Because like, if you look at sort of throughout history, like the big monster of the time is always something that represents what people are scared of at the time. Like you had like the Cold War monsters, and then you had like vampires when it like the media was blowing up this thing about kids having drugs and all that kind of stuff. Like there's always a really interesting thread between what people are finding scary in films and what people are finding scary in real life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But what I was gonna say is like those guys that didn't enjoy the film so much, I can sort of understand it. But I think where me and sort of Alec came to a clash. Well, not necessarily a clash because it was quite well mannered. I don't mind necessarily not enjoying it, but I think if you sort of make it seem that it's something that it's not, or not, I generally felt that it wasn't given like the due that it deserved. Like it's not going to be for everyone. I understand that. Like it's an old film. It could be seen as a bit slow, and obviously, me, you, and Ben sort of enjoy that sort of film anyway. So other people may not enjoy it. I know Simon hates both Dawn of the Dead, so I knew it might not be for him.
But I surprisingly liked it.
which is mad. So like, I'm all for not enjoying it. Like, I mean, it's not my film, so it's not really going to make me lose sleep at night either. But I think if it needs to be sort of viewed through a lens of fairness, and I think in that conversation I don't necessarily feel I got that, because obviously what I said earlier was he was saying about two characters, and that was basically the whole film. I'm like, but you've missed like the last hour. Like, just watch the last hour. It's not just about them. Like, and I think if you watch it through like a lens of where you know it's not a modern day film, so don't compare it to a modern day film. You can get a lot out of it as well. So I don't regret the pick. I actually think it's probably one of my favourites that I've picked. Outside of RRR. I got a head shake and a groan.
No, it's not. I'm not groaning. It's more of a like. It's like it's a.
Was great.
What it's making me consider is doing a lot more of these sort of picks. Where like I could easily pick all my favourites, like ones that I see regularly. But I think ones that I've seen before, ones that like I may not have seen, or like are influential to films in the modern day. Like I think Film Club probably needs more of that type of film as well. So I'm going to be doing some research for next year's picks.
Don't worry, I got you.
Thank you, Simon. So be prepared.
Nice.
Okay. Well, talking about being prepared, who is actually, because the girls have added, well, you've added girls for the this particular round as well. I just like, who is next? Because I haven't checked the actual.
Rob.
Is it Rune? Oh, okay.
And it's funny that you preface that by saying, speaking of being prepared, because I'm really not. I'm not really sure what I'm going to pick.
So you're not picking what you said the other day?
Oh yeah, so one thing that I was considering was doing Dawn of the Dead, because the sole reason being that Pat keeps threatening me, and he keeps saying that when I pick Dawn of the Dead, he's going to pick the shitty Zack Snyder version. And I was thinking, well, this is probably the safest I'm ever going to be from that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do Dawn of the Dead yet.
And you know that I'm going to be picking it anyway, so
yeah,
that is true. That is true.
So that.
But what I'll promise you is I won't pick it in the same round that you pick yours.
Well, that's all right then. Well, all right, I'll delay that one then. Yeah, I don't know. So because this is kind of the first round with sort of, you know, the first round where I'll be picking, and more people will be watching it. I do kind of want to do something that I've been trying to get people to watch for a while. I'm just not sure what that is. It's an hard one. All right, do you know what I might do? Because I've got a list of like all the stuff that I might pick. I might just. All right, so there's 23 films on this list. So if we all pick a number each, and let's just see what we end up with.
Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna go with a number that's dear to my heart. Number 7.
Nice, very nice.
Right, 13.
13.
Unlucky 13. Oh,
Yeah.
Actually, 13's a really good film.
Let's go number 1 for the sake of going number 1.
Number 1. All right.
oh, that didn't sound positive.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a Storm of the Dead.
Emmanuel?
My number is number 5.
Number 5. Okay, I think out of those, do you know what? It's still kind of between two. Because I think both of them could be interesting this round.
What numbers?
Flip a coin.
So the two that I think could be interesting are 7 and 13. So the interesting thing about Simon picking number 1 is it's actually probably the most Simon film on the list because it was My Neighbour Totoro.
My neighbor Simon Wrong.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, but like,
The film on my list. Not that one, but different.
well, I mean, like, a lot of Ghibli films are on my list technically, but like, okay, what's
coin?
Yeah, flip that coin.
I'll give you a clue. I
Hop
think
to
both
flip
films.
that coin.
I think both films are from 1996. Interestingly.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Oh, actually, I know where I can get one.
It's flipping the bean.
So,
Oh, that
Flipping
sounds-
the bean, that's-
I'm going to use
that
quite a
sounds
cool
like
coin
we
for
pay
this. So that's the head side.
That's what she said.
then
Let's head.
The tails side is Elvis.
Oh.
Oh, nice.
Right,
Thank you very
so
much.
head 7, tails 13.
Okay.
Okay.
It is heads, which means it's going to be Fargo.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
So
Um,
the other
it
choice was
was-
Trainspotting.
I'll be honest.
Ooh.
I was thinking about picking Fargo first round next year. So.
Oh, was you really?
Yeah.
To be fair, so was I. To be fair,
Oh, really?
that was on my list. For like a winter pick.
Especially since like our picks per year has sort of condensed a little bit. I'm cool with that.
You know what? I actually really wanted to do Barton Fink, but it's going off of Prime this week, so I was like,
Oh, motherfucker.
yeah. But no, I'm quite happy with Fargo. I haven't watched that in a long time.
Same. It
Okay.
might make me go back to the TV show as well.
I think it's
I was
actually
gonna
only our
say-
second Cohen pick as well, isn't it?
No,
Oh no,
third.
third. Sorry,
Third one.
yeah, third.
Yeah, Rob, I was Trainspotting's also on my list somewhere.
Oh, it's really good, man. Like the only thing that would kind of make me hesitate is like after the films that we've had this round, Trainspotting's maybe a little rough.
Well, I mean, like Trace. Well, you said a little rough. It's about the same sort of. Oh no, this round of films, Emmanuel, have started off rough. So it's like it can't get that much worse until it comes to me at least.
I mean, you say
I mean,
I was my next pick. I was going to pick this like classic black and white film, like in the '60s as well, but better production than this. Not cussing this, but anyway, but I decided against it because there's something that happens in the film, and I was just like, we've already had something like this already. I don't want to pick this. Once I read it, I was just like, oh crap, nope, I'm not picking for a while.
yeah.
Oh, Emmanuel, because I didn't say what the film was for your number. Yours was Harvey.
Oh, I don't know that.
I'm very
Yeah,
surprised you didn't pick that.
I will pick it at some point, but it needs to be when we're all feeling wholesome.
I'm always feeling wholesome. I mean, Man United lost today, but I'm over that.
I mean, like,
Oh,
I kicked a few totes about, and then I'm fine.
I mean, we could always save it from next round where it's my. I think it should be like that would be like next. Well, yeah, next round would be like the last like round of the year, right?
yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, I've got a wholesome choice for my last round. This round, maybe not so much. We'll see
My
how.
next-
how
I was
Yeah,
just
but,
going to
like-
say, my next one is an anniversary one.
oh, okay, cool.
Anniversary one, only.
Yeah.
Like 10 years, 20 years of the film being made.
The 40.
What could it be for 40 years? I'm trying to think of what was made in that time period in the 1980s. All right, but I mean, is it an action film?
It could be seen as one. I wouldn't necessarily say it's an action film, but there's action in it.
Interesting. Is it Kindergarten Cop?
No, it's not a tumor.
okay, but like, yeah, it's a, we'll see. Yeah, Fargo. Yeah, I just gotta make sure when I look for it, it's not a goddamn TV series because I just know that the TV series is really popular. Is it still on? It's still ongoing, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
It
What
was, but it hasn't been for a while.
What's that?
The show,
TV show.
miniseries.
Yeah, I haven't watched it since season 2, I think.
There's
Well, it's still
multiple
being-
far.
It's good.
Do you know
Is
what's
this-
nice about having Fargo is that we can talk about the Minnesota accent properly.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
oh, it's still. Oh no, it's still getting made right now. It's a 2024 one, so it's like, oh wow, it's like, whoa.
5
Okay, I
seasons.
didn't realize. Yeah, it's been.
This is probably my second favourite Coen Brothers film as well.
Yeah, same actually.
It's probably one of mine.
I'd probably say it's my third favourite. I think Big Lebowski and Barton think both come before it for me.
I've got a couple of Coen Brothers films in my collection that I haven't seen before. Shit, where's it? I can't remember one of the other ones, but I saw it on the list. So I was like, oh, it's £2 on Amazon. I'll pick that up.
Does any link to the other Fargo films?
The other Fargo films.
There's multiple Fargo films. I mean,
Is-
I know the one, but
I've
like-
only ever known on one.
yeah, I've gone on Just Watch, and there's like, there's two that are called exactly Fargo, and then you have like Fargo Year 1, Fargo Year 2, and then Fargo Express, Fargo Year 3,
Oh yeah.
Fargo Greetings from. I'm just like, why?
Oh, yeah. The Fargo Kid, Fargo
Yeah.
Express, the
Fargo,
Fargo
fuck yourself.
Christmas Story.
Fargo, wait. Let me quickly give me that.
It's
Yeah,
funny
go
because when you search Fargo
Fargo.
on Letterboxd, you get Fargo, the Princess and the Frog.
So I've done it on IMDb, and it's Fargo the TV series, Fargo the film you've picked, Fargo a TV movie, Tales of Wells Fargo, Fargo
Isn't that a bank?
1952. I think you're right. Yeah. James Fargo, the director of The Enforcer, Sarah
Hmm.
Fargo, and Fargo, Arizona. Who the fuck's Fargo, Arizona?
I mean, it's the Fargo A Christmas Story. Just a Fargo Christmas Story is just like
No, you
something
can't see
about
this.
it. It's just like special. It's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of when they do like the Flintstones Christmas, and it's just like it doesn't. I mean, like I guess yeah, sure. I guess it could work. It's just like unexpected, you know. It's just like oh, cool. But yeah, let me double check on Amazon where it is. Oh, it is probably on Amazon.
Yes, there's plenty places. If you haven't done a trial for MGM Plus, you
Oh
can
yeah, I got it.
you can stream it on MGM Plus through Amazon Prime. Otherwise, yeah, it's on Amazon, Apple TV.
It's Fargo, right?
Yeah.
I have the Blu-ray.
Oh, cool.
Da-da.
Yeah,
You know
sounds
what? I had a really, really nice edition of it on DVD when I was like 13. And I had that for years. I only upgraded it last year.
Is there a 4K version, do you know?
Yeah, I think there is now.
Sweet, I'm upgrading this after I watch it.
Yeah, so it's in that. You know, Warner Brothers have started doing like a boutique line. It's in that.
Ah, boutique. Oh, I don't like buying from Warner Brothers though.
Oh yeah, at the moment it's 40 quid on Amazon.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, that's a collector's edition.
Oh, this is exciting. I didn't expect to be picking this.
Well, all I can say is now it enforces one of my picks for next year then, because it will be a Coen Brothers film.
Seeing as I've accidentally nicked this off you, tell me if you want anything I'm planning to pick.
I have to decide what I'm picking first, but I think my first pick of next year is going to be a Coen film. It's my third favourite Coen film. I have mentioned it a few times.
Oh, I think I might have an idea.
I was going to pick it this year before we had an influx of new members.
Oh, really?
But I'm all right delaying it till next year. Like, features an actor that I like a lot as well.
Wait, I'm going to double check this because the one I'm thinking, I don't think features an actor you like.
I think it's an 80s film.
Oh, bloody hell! It's about time. I can't wait to see that.
Oh, you're giving it away. What? I'm not picking About Time.
I think you were. Well, you didn't pick it in the first place, but anyway.